welcome to this week's episode of the Angry Geeks. I am Lewis.
And Jamie. I was going to say, you pointed at me. Well, okay.
I know. Wait, I just said I'm Jamie Dolan, that one woman. Woo!
M? Boy, we rehearsed this tonight, didn't we? And that is Quindorella. I think she froze. And tonight, wow, she did. And Jack Purcell said, wow, slick intro.
Yeah,
tune in tomorrow night to see the New Faces and Heels intro. So, ladies, we have a great guest tonight. I mean, yes, you're better. And nice new opening. Thank you, Aviva, very much. Jamie worked real hard on that. I mean, I was texting her yesterday when I was working on it, and Emily as well. I was sending her.
It wasn't me. It was.
And
my part.
Yes, you did. You did. And J-Bo says, "Hey, anyway, we got a great guest backstage. He is a playwright, and he is bringing justice to the one and only Bill Finger." Now, most of you do know who Bill Finger is now because of this big controversy that started back in 2015. We know Bill Finger's daughter, Jamie. We had her on the show once or twice, and we see her all the time at Rhode Island Comic Con. So without further ado, let's just bring him on. Let's bring in Lenny. How are you doing,
guys?
Lenny?
How's it going?
Hello.
Good to see you. I have to say that was a wonderful intro. I want that for my daily life. Actually, that's such a great introduction. Literally, I just walk in any room and it takes like a minute to go through. I think it'd be amazing. So, did a great job. My heart.
Well, no, thank you. So, what's brought you to the cause of Bill Finger? I mean, I know you were a long-time comic book collector, but what brought you to this cause? I saw your first play. I absolutely loved it. My wife, who did not know anything about Bill Finger, took her. She loved it as well.
That's great.
What brought you to help the Finger family and to bring a story to life?
It's been a very interesting thing. I can start off by saying I worked at a comic book store when I was 13 years old, back in when the first Batman movie came out. And, I was really enthralled. That was the summer of the Bat. I don't think Emily was even, Emily, you weren't born till 98 or something, I'm guessing?
94.
94.
But thank you.
Okay, so,
yes.
Oh my God, go good. That's amazing.
You're close.
And 1989 was the summer of the Bat. And anyone who was alive back then knows that Batman fever was everywhere, and I got caught up in it. And working at the comic book store, the biography Batman and Me came out, and the guy who ran the store says, he says, "Don't read the book." He goes, "Let me tell you the real story of Bill Finger," and I had no idea who Bill Finger was. So it always interested me as a 13-year-old to say, "Hey, that's really an interesting tale." And you didn't know, this might be like an urban legend or something. But then I started doing theater. I started doing plays. And then in 2011, about that was 11 years ago, I had done my first biographical play about Buster Keaton. And I always, in the back of my mind, after I did I did a play about the Marx Brothers and a play about Lucille Ball. And then I did one about Charles Schultz. And at that point, I was completely burnt out of him. I said, I'm not going to do a single biographical play ever again, because I want to move on to other things. I said the only way I would do a biographical play in any circumstances if it was about Bill Finger or Steve Ditko. And I never thought that'd even be possible back then. And then I went to Comic-Con that summer, and I had literally bumped into Athena Finger. And, she was very nice talking to her, very friendly. And I ended a conversation with, "Hey, would you, this is such an accident meeting to her. I said, would you ever consider, somebody writing a play about Bill Finger?" And she said, "Yeah, go ahead, do as you will, And that was supposed to actually be a screenplay at first. And, but then they were opening up a new space in Rhode Island. And I said, they said, "We need something big to open up with." I said, "This would be something big. This would be great." And that was that first play of Co-Creator back in 2015. And everybody loves that version. And then they love the way that came out. And they said, "You should just update it," and everything along those lines. And when I looked at it, it wasn't what I wanted it to be. Everyone loves that version, and anytime anyone loves something, I completely hate it. So I have to. But it sounds so weird. But it's like it's not that the productions were bad that came from it. It's not that I didn't think there was any value in it or anything. I thought the productions were great, and people might even still want to do that show. But I always felt there was something more to that show. And I always felt like it was like a big gap. And I've never done anything as far as rewriting a play or doing. I mean, I've rewritten plays, but I've never actually took an entire play and started from scratch again. And it just kept going back and forth. I probably did since co-create, I probably did about 3,241 drafts, as I like to tell people. And so the play completely changed until the Bill Finger, the Bill Finger play it is now, which is the version I prefer. Not invalidating anybody else's, that they saw of co-create, and I appreciate that. But I have to say, this was a reimagining that I did enjoy doing much more. It's a version that I would like to say. It's not even like the Ridley Scott Blade Runner's cut. This is like, somebody else came in and completely took over and rewrote the entire show. It's completely different. So there's maybe 2 scenes that survived, and I cut everything else. So, which was a shock to many people who saw it, and a few cast members from the other shows who saw it. Went, "Oh my God, what have you done?"
So, in certain theaters, are you recommending that they keep the original cast, or do you want the directors to recast everyone?
I don't. The funny thing is, I don't know how this. If I gave the script to people to do, I had somebody said to me after seeing the first one, and it was really. I mean, after seeing both of them, says, "I'd really like to, see them. I really like them both. I like this probably the new version much better. Rise of the Bat much better. I still want to think about doing the old one, however, and I'm like, no, do the new one. The new one's so challenging. It's actually one of the better plays I've ever written. It's actually, and I'll argue this point. It actually is a very strong show. It's very emotionally diverse. It's it goes more into like how Bill Finger could survive, that long as he did. Just the mental health aspect of it. Like, imagine, you create a Batman. Like, how do you deal with that every day? How do you replace, that gap in your heart, knowing that you did this, watching the character take off, watching the character become a cornerstone? How do you do that? And how do you forgive Bob Kane for doing that? And those are questions that the original does not answer. And they're such strong questions. Like, how do you forgive that? That to me was a really great place to go with it. And I was very excited to kind of explore that. And it only took 8 years. And I feel like a big, I almost feel like my life is kind of, now that I finally be able to put up, I can actually grow and advance as a human being. And do those things. So very strange, I know. But this version, I will say, I would, if people ask me which one would want to, they should go with, I would say go with the new version, because it's a much richer show and a much richer experience. And they can have the rights for free if they want. God bless them. As long as they put it up. That's all I care about. If they do co-creator, though, I might charge them. Anyway.
Do you touch more on the Green Lantern aspect?
I would love to. Someone asked that question in San Diego when we did our panel. And he
really?
asked about the Green Lantern.
Pastor?
Yeah, it does mention it.
Okay.
It does talk about it maybe for about a minute or two. And it is introduced as a pattern basically of Bill just giving ideas up. And I didn't want to get too much into it, because the fact of the matter is that people, it's of course should be mentioned. But to get too much into it, it's kind of superfluous and it's kind of a repeating plot almost. You can watch a character in just a storytelling sense. We can watch a character get Batman taken away from him. Watching another character, watching him do that process, it's kind of like repetitive, even though that's much of Bill Finger's life. And the play is only 90 minutes. Actually, I've reduced the timeline too to make it move quick. But you want to make sure that's mentioned, but you don't want to. It's another tributary, another story that I didn't want to. If I had a miniseries, I would do it.
Okay.
Like that.
For those not in the know, Jamie, Are you familiar with Bill Finger and the Green Lantern? Do you remember me telling you or no?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. M, are you familiar with Bill Finger and the Green Lantern?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, awesome. Now, many of our listeners on the Angry Geeks Network or viewers at home on public access or Pod TV, you might not know this, but it was Bill Finger who actually put the Green Lantern into outer space.
Mhm.
And it was because of him, the 24-hour charge, and a lot of these great ideas came from Bill Finger, and it was kind of like were taken away from him, and he did not get none of those props for that. Michael comes in and says he is not familiar with Bill Finger and the Green Lantern.
Oh, that's such a shame. The thing about Bill Finger, and this is something that Denny O'Neil actually said. Bill Finger was responsible for was basically an architect for not just Batman, not just Green Lantern, but the way we read comics. Denny O'Neil said that he really took the idea of making comics cinematic and making them flow from be less stiff. He really kind of he almost, I wouldn't even say created the language of comics and really just made it something that even to this very day we still look at, and we still, even modern comics have a huge debt to Bill Finger because of the way they're structured and the way that we look at panels. There's a lot of those heroes at the beginning of comics, and he's definitely one, who advanced them and advanced them. And there's people along the way who've done similar things, but Bill was the first one to really introduce that kind of cinematic style that kind of had a butterfly effect through the comics and still permeates to this very day. No matter what comic series you might be reading, you owe a debt to Bill Finger, and that's the truth.
Jamie, you have a question?
I feel like you caught me off guard. I was just thinking that you're late for our break.
Yes, I know. I've seen it. So we're going to take 30 seconds for our newest sponsor, Cares a Lot Confections. Ooh. You want a custom cake or custom cupcakes? Contact Cares a Lot Confections. Now, once again, I want to thank Cares a Lot Confections for this segment of the Angry Geek Show. If you need a cake or pie or anything for any occasion, contact Cares a Lot Confections today. And I'm going to tell you right now, even for a guy on a diet like myself right now, they are yummy, they're scrumptious, and they're just like darn good. And I did go off my diet a couple weeks ago to have, M is gone. To have a piece. I think M just left to go get some. That's what I think.
I hope she brings me some back.
I don't care what cosplay I'm in and how tight it is or how much of a eating plan I'm on. If there's one of her cakes or pies or cupcakes around, I'm eating it. I don't care.
Yeah, they are
so good.
They are very good, and the holiday season is right around, so get those pie orders in now. There's going to be a link to Cares a Lot Confections right on the Angry Geeks Network website, so go right there. Emily, do you have a question?
Well, I mean, you did ask a lot about, one of the big questions I had was like, letting someone else do it, because actually me and Lewis, the first time we saw it was Attleboro Community Theater, and that was good. Yeah. Actually, I was explaining to him how I was the crazy Harley Quinn cosplayer, like running up and down the street for most of those shows. And I was like, oh, technically, I think you might have met me like years ago. You didn't know it. I was up in your face screaming at you in a metallic Harley Quinn suit. So, I mean, do you think that's something for your new one we might be able to like expect there? I'm sorry, like if you kind of answered Louis.
You mean doing the show at Attleboro, like letting them take over?
Already, but like, yeah, just if you could see it like that show local again, because I know it sounds like you had a great recent weekend in New York. So, I mean, like, sorry we couldn't see it. We were at, Super Mega Fest and that fun stuff. But yeah,
Right.
it sounds like you had a great weekend. That's awesome.
Yeah, honestly, I would be more than happy. I'd rather, like I said, some people have talked to me about doing the original one that's more community minded. That being said, I really feel the new version I'd give it to anybody. It's such a stronger show, in so many ways, and it really has so much more depth to it. I would actually say it's actually darker too, and it's more of it feels more in the back. Like the thing that was missing from the first show, that was very, very tough. It had to be kind of put on basically, was the Batman itself. It didn't have a Batman flavor to it, and it didn't have that kind of stuff that Bill kind of created, like this kind of noir universe that he kind of created, and the stuff that really makes Batman. And Bill Finger's stories should parallel Batman's in some regards, because that's his first creation. That's what he's most known for losing, and so there should be some sort of recognition of that, about, it really is one of the two biggest tragedies in comics, I would say, one of the two biggest tragedies, and maybe even bigger to a couple years ago, because he didn't have any resolution in 2015, but it also, his life story plays like a Batman comic if you really look at it emotionally. Co-creator never actually played to that. It played more like a melodrama of like, oh yeah, and by the way, he kind of, and people, that's certainly valid, but I like the idea that that should be entwined. Batman's fate should be entwined with Bill Finger's fate. And Bob Kane, the thing I have to say about this version, which I like much more, is that it's, I think the Attleboro version had a very, 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 very strong Bob Kane. I really like, he actually was in this show actually too, believe it or not. I actually used him as a guest star. Believe it or not, Johnny was great. And Johnny Bender, he was wonderful in that show. And I really thought it'd be funny if he was a guest star, just showed up randomly. And I really love Johnny. I love the thing about that Bob Kane is that he's almost one-dimensional as far as like he's in that version of it. Bob Kane is still almost so one-dimensional that he's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm here to be a villain and take it away, and then show up later and take credit. And this one, he's a very, very strong, well-drawn character, and he's the stuff he does isn't like demonstrative as far as like a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming. It's more of like watching two friends, because you have to remember these guys were in their 20s when this happened. It was watching two friends and their relationship come apart. And having Jerry Robinson there as well. But you have to also remember, like, what was the foundation of Batman? It was their friendship. Sure, they worked together, but it was their friendship that really was cemented. And it's the one thing that only the two of them kind of were there for, creating Batman. So to have that, like, how do you deal with that? How do you know that there's somebody else in the world who will help you create this thing? And how do you forgive that person? Those are really strong themes and questions that I wanted to answer in a very real way. So, take it from Bill Finger's point of view, and see how to get into his head and how to find those day-to-day moments and make those the strongest.
Mm-hmm. All right. We have a comment. Jamie, can you see that?
Yep. Aviva says, I'm supposed to say hello to Leonard from my cousin Rachel Bodner.
Hi, Rachel. I love Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
That was kind of like really small. I couldn't see it. Now, we mentioned a friend of Jamie and I, and of course now a friend of yours, Athena Finger.
Yep.
Did you give the script to Athena to have her approve it?
Yeah, that was something I was going to ask. Like, was the family involved when you were writing it?
Yeah. So that's a good question. That's a very good question. The original version, not so much actually. The original version, I kind of co-creator, they stepped outside the realm of it and came to see it. And of course, she had notes and things I'd like to see. This is a very different kind of situation than most of the biographical plays I've done, except for Ditko. when I did Ditko, the Ditko family was involved. Mark Ditko was very involved. You know, when it became involved after I'd written the script, and it was amazing because Mark was just like, hey, you know, you put this down, but Steve didn't eat this. He ate like, you know, this. He ate crepes, and these are the crepes he liked. And I'm like, whoa, holy! He's like, do you mind if I give that note? I'm like, give me all the notes, please. Tell me what Steve Ditko was like, you know. And it was great. And I won't even tell you the stuff I had access to. That was just stuff that people would pay me probably a lot of money to have access to, and I won't ever give those things away. But during the script. And Mark is generous. When we went to the Johnstown event last year, you know, I was with every single Ditko probably on the planet that still exists, and all his relatives, and they're all giving stories about Steve Ditko. And I'm like, whoa, this is intense. And stuff that had I not made that connection, the script wouldn't have been as good as it eventually was. That was actually part of the reason I wanted to redo it again, because the initial version, it had some input, but it didn't have as much input as, you know, as I would like. Now, Athena, since the show ended, we actually worked on the project a little bit for another media forum, and we became like friends. And I consider, you know, me and Athena, I love Athena. And Athena, you know, I would honestly say that if you were, I mean, honestly, when I introduced the show in New York, I was just like, I love Athena. We're both professing our love for each other. But I wanted her to be involved as much as possible. And I had to give her and Alethea story credit, because of the work that we did over the summer of 2017 and summer of 2018 on the script. We did some readings of it. We did some other things with that. And this was for, again, another form of media, which I won't talk about. But they had input on it. And the input made its way into the final version of this script when I decided to take it back and put it into a play. So that was very important to me that we made that. And honestly, you know, I always wanted, there was a point where I had to give them story credit, but I did have to tell the story I had to tell. And they know that too. So I kind of had to do what I, you know, needed to make decisions on to turn it into a script. But they had ample opportunity to look at the play, and they had no real notes at this version of it. You know, I'm sure, you know, if we put it in another production, you know, you can put any production in the world and have the same script, and it could be something like, oh, Bill wouldn't do this or something like that. At a certain point, you have to make decisions to make the script work, and they know that as well. So yeah, you know, Athena had some really great input on this, and so did her sister Alethea. I guess it's a way of saying that yes, they did, and yes, it was very valuable, and yes, I love them both. So that's the best way I can put it. I think the feeling is very neutral. And I love Athena's husband, Rick. If Rick's listening, hi, Rick. I love you. Anyway.
Rick Stratford, the one and only Aquaman.
The true Aquaman. What a great dude, man. One of the best people I've ever met.
Yeah, they're both amazing people.
They really are.
So any plans on going to Broadway with this?
You know, it's funny. You know, it's funny on that because, you know, I had producers that are Broadway producers see the show. And this was done in a smaller theater. And, you know, the thing about taking it to Broadway is the time and, you know, is the notes as far as like what it would take to make this a play to Broadway. I would love to, and it's certainly not a goal that I wouldn't turn away or anything like that. The thing of it is that to get to that level of doing it to Broadway, it takes so much and so much to do. I would be happy if this was if this was the final version of any version that would ever happen of the script of mine. I can honestly say I'd be happy with it. I would like to see it go on and go to other places and other people take it over, you know, and do those things. But I would be happy. Now I know what it takes to get it to a Broadway show, and I don't know if you need a producer to really like be backing this project to do that, and that's something that, you know, that's something that you may not be in my lifetime that would actually happen. It sounds crazy, but what I think, you know, a lot of people, like some people have really heard about Bill Finger now. I think taking it to Broadway would be a good step, and that would be a very good reason to do it. I think the bigger way to do it, and I'll say this whether it's me or somebody else, is to tell the story on the screen. I think if you made a film of it, and I'm not saying a documentary, because I think the documentary did have its place. But if you made a film of it and it had a good, even just even as like a run in the theaters and had a small run, you make a small film for 15 million. I really do think that it would be something that people would recognize, and Bill Finger's name would be cemented in people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that, and I believe that about Jerry, the Superman creator, Siegel and Schuster. I believe that if you did those things, you can make as many documentaries, as many plays as you want. You can do all those things, but unless you made a film that really transcended borders, then I would think that that's really the only way. Because even Broadway right now, you go to a Broadway show, even any sort of theater, you notice that audiences are lacking, and everyone's trying to get back to their chestnuts, and that's very scary. The fact that we're able to do this in 3 cities is a huge, huge thing. But the people are staying home more and more, and nobody's leaving their house. So the only way to combat that and get the story out would be a film.
Okay.
Anyway.
Oh, and the president of Pod TV, Roku, and Amazon, Kimberly. Hello, Kimberly. Thank you for tuning in. And wow, be on your best behavior, ladies. And I too.
I think you're the one we need to worry about. Not us.
No kidding. Wow.
Oh, and we love you too, Kim. And we will set up a time so you can meet Jamie, of course, and Emily. Emily's like in shock. Oh my God. Yes, that and I should join and we can get crazy. Yes, at one time we will have the president of Pod TV on, and I will definitely have to be extremely well behaved.
We're gonna have
with that being said, it is. I got to go to finishing school because I'm not done. With that being said, we have to play our next sponsor. We'll be right back with a word from CH Square Collectibles. 39 Wedgwood Drive, Suite 232, inside the Slater Mill Mall. Pokemon every Saturday mornings. Become a Pokemon Master. Magic the Gathering every Friday night. Comics, toys, vinyls, diecast, and more. Find your inner hero at CH Square Collectibles. Proud sponsor of the Angrygeeks show. And we're back. Thank you for CH Square Collectibles for once again being on. And Emily, there's 2 of you.
I was going to say, what is happening?
Which was the other one? I left it because the other one was just not being my friend.
Now you kept freezing, but at least every time it froze, your face was good. When it freezes,
well, because I always have the resting, that face. I'm trying to behave, so I'm saying good words.
All right, so Lenny,
face. We all know what I want to
say. So Lenny, what is next for you? What do you have?
Mm-hmm. For projects, I've got to get through 3 in the next year. I have 2 writing projects. I have about 4 writing projects I'm currently in many phases of right now. I have for the foreseeable future, I'm shooting a film right now, which is The Haunted and the Hunted, which we start shooting on Wednesday again now that the show's over. And I'm probably going to be shooting that for the fall and winter months, honestly. I'm probably not going to do much else. Do a couple of shoot days every month until it's shot. That's going to take up a majority of my fall, believe it or not. It's just such a different film that it's going to take a lot of time, and I have to pace myself on that one because that's very important. I want to get that done. So I'm probably not going to be directing any shows as far as doing any theatrical things. Till March, actually.
Are you still the chairman of Rise, by the way?
I am. Yeah, I'm going to step down next year, though, in July.
Okay.
June. I'm going to step down in June because I have other things I want to focus on. So I'll be doing that, and I'll be doing when I say step down from Rise, I'm going to step down, but I'm going to be focusing on Daydream stuff. Because I've been running 2 theater companies for 6 years, and I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So that's been very exhausting.
I think Jamie has this question too, but I'm going to try and beat her to it. You said haunted and hunted?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is that? Because I mean, I saw her eyes. What can you elaborate on the plot?
Sure.
Is it a horror? What?
Well, it's a film that is it's a horror film that takes place after the world has ended, and it's basically one woman being chased by werewolves over the 3 nights of the full moon. A pack of werewolves, and it's no dialogue. It's just completely like it's a full-length feature film of one woman being chased 3 nights, and it is a very hard challenge. This film, it's very good, but I mean, as far as like the team, I'm looking at
Amy's like, this is my dream last night.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, oh my God. Did you write this about me? This is my
We're both in haunted forest. Where are you filming this, and do you need extras? That's why I'm.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, was this the film that like you could pay to be a dead body or something?
Yeah, we're gonna reopen it probably in a couple months for people to do that and add some other perks, because we're gonna run out of money for this film fairly quickly. We're shooting so much. It's I gotta raise money to actually create the werewolf, which has been an interesting challenge.
Kickstarter.
We already did a Kickstarter. We made like $15,000. Believe it or not, to shoot the film though, it's gonna take more. Because I have a crew like you wouldn't believe, and we're really doing a lot of work on it. But the thing about film, it eats up money so quickly. It like burns. You might as well just take money and just toss it into a burner at a certain point instead of doing a film. But I really want to do it. I mean, it feels like it, but I really want to make sure that the movie gets the best stuff. So what we've been doing is we've been telling people if they want to be a dead body in the film, $100. We'll make you a dead body in the film. And it's been great because we've raised some, but we're kind of closed the door on that as we're shooting. But we will do that again as we get going on this. So and probably in like late December, early January, we will kind of get that in again. But yeah, that's gonna get done, and I'm committed to that as long as that takes. If it takes 2 years, I don't care. And then we're going after that. I'm doing a play in the spring for sure. I'm doing a play of Dramatis Persona, which is a take on. We did a reading of it this year. It's a take on local recent incidences in the local theater community in Rhode Island. And I won't name names, but I will say, if you've been following the stuff on my Facebook and a certain local magazine in Rhode Island, then you will see that this is a full life drama, a full life take on what happened, and with a lot of interesting developments, because it's actually still being written concurrently with things that are currently happening. So it might even be like a week before the show opens that we're still running the show, because it's been because details still coming up. But it's about safety in theater. It's about respecting each other in your community, and it's about being safe and what people have done in this community, not to make the theater not about being safe, but about something that's about their own egos and aspirations and abuse. And this will be a play that I think that's not just for this community, but for every community in the world. And I think that someone has to write the play and actually says, this is what our community looks like. It may reflect your community too. So it's one of those, I'm kind of like, okay, it has to be done. So the hell with it. I'll do it. I'm excited to get that done. And then I'm going for a comedy next fall. Because I really want to do a comedy.
Yeah, that's for someone like you, knowing you how I do, I was just like, yeah, he's got to fit that in somewhere. Like the darkness going even darker with the Bill Finger thing. Now we have this going on. It's like, oh my God, Lenny's so funny. Where's this? You got to fit funny in somewhere for you. Oh my God.
I want to do a play with no redeeming moral values, and I have the play for it. And I can't even announce the play on this title because it'll probably get you guys kicked off. Yeah, it's gonna be wild. And
we got the president watching. Go for it.
No.
Kim won't kick us off.
I would feel awful if I said it. I would be like, the Angrygeeks will get really angry, and I don't want that to happen. But
I don't think that's happened.
I'm the sassy one. Sassy.
No, this will do it. So and then after that in the spring, I don't know what comes after that. Honestly, I have an idea. For one more, if I was going to do one more superhero play, like one more based on a superhero, I know exactly what I would do. It'd be between 2 or 3 subjects. And I think I know what I'd go with it. And it just kind of depends. It's kind of taking to see where things go in next year. I kind of want to just kind of focus on like different projects though. Cause I think a lot of times it's like, this took so long. When I was doing the script, originally a play. Then it was supposed to be for another form of media, and then it was then that didn't work out. So then it went back to being a play, and I finally had the script I wanted. And I'm like, I get to do it this fall. It sounds great. And that was March 7th, 2020. And I'm like, my God, the future looks bright. I can't wait for this fall in 2020 for things to go well. And then, like, a week later, a couple days later, the world shuts down. I'm like, God, why? So I actually waited 2 years, and I put a lot of thought into it when we're doing those 2 years. And I'm like, my God, this was the luckiest I've ever been in my life, this show. And I'm grateful for it, because not only did the play go well, and we had a very, really good experience with everybody, but not only that, but even better was that we had 12 people in the cast over 3 states, and one of them being Pennsylvania, and not one person in the entire rehearsal process of 2 months, nobody caught COVID. Nobody.
Wow.
Nobody was sick. Everyone took care of themselves. I don't know how that happened. I couldn't tell you. I had plans for when people did get sick, for what to do. I don't know how that happens in this day and age, how we can have a show where everyone dodged that bullet. And I mean, it was like I tested 2-3 times a week sometimes. I didn't get it, and other people in the cast didn't get it. And it was just like, wow, did this happen? And for that to happen, especially in this day and age, is a blessing,
Seriously.
Really,
I mean, it's a sad truth, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, people are doing a show. You look at it all the time, like we have to push the show back because these people got COVID, and you're like, that happens like every show.
Oh, so, I know. I am well aware.
I'm sure you are.
Ask Richard Griffin.
Yeah. Oh, I know. You guys. And I remember that happened in Attleboro and other places. It's like, okay,
yeah, 13 past midnight. We discussed on canceling, but thankfully, we just had to postpone a weekend. But yeah, everyone got it pretty much.
Oh. Uh-oh, question of the week. This week's question of the week is brought to you by Alternate Universe LLC in New Haven and Milford. Make sure you stop down and see Eric. Tell him that the Angry Geeks sent you. They are Angry Geeks approved. And this week's question, our Jamie brings you this question. And Lenny, you go first, and then M. This week's question. What is the most absurd thing you've been tricked into doing or believing? This week's question. What is the most absurd thing you've been tricked into doing or believing?
This is a story. So
it's a story.
There's like some sort of Bible you could write for this one, but I'm going to let Lenny go first.
Yeah, so the most absurd thing. So you guys have been ghost hunting, I'm sure, correct?
No, Jamie and I went to a haunted hayride, but that's about it.
I've done it without Lewis. Lewis wasn't that extreme.
I went with one. I don't know if you guys remember the lad school in Rhode Island. I don't know if you remember this. It was an institution back in Rhode Island. It got torn down, but was supposedly one of the scariest places in Rhode Island. And one of my friends, a ghost hunter, and he said, I won't say his name, but he said, let's go explore the lad school. So here I am, and this one's the absurd part. And I was 33, 34 years old at this time. And I was working, I think, for Trinity Rep at the time. And my friends were both college. One was a college professor and one was a grade school teacher. And we went in, we went through the lad school. We scared ourselves, all these things. And at the end of it, one of my friends who convinced us, he says, I have an idea what we can do for the rest of the night. And he goes, what? He goes, let's go egging. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Go egging, right? I'm like, we're 33, right? He's like, you can be our getaway driver. So here I am at 33 years old, wondering what I'm doing as a grade school teacher and a college professor went egging. Because it convinced me, and I was like, and all of a sudden it was like a getaway car, I was like a getaway car, like Fast and the Furious, like go. At the end of it, true story. At the end of it, this was 12 years ago, I think. At the end of it, we're sitting there, and they look at me and goes, "This was the stupidest thing we've ever done in our lives." He goes, and one of them just looks at me and goes, "I'm getting awards." And he goes, I'm getting awards as being a teacher. Why am I doing this? That's a true story. I won't say who, but if they're listening, they know who they are. That's amazing.
Okay, M.
Believing that I'm loved. No, just kidding.
Oh,
You were all completely simultaneous. I love that. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I had to do that. But I don't know. I'm going to say one that, like, I obviously didn't believe her, but I just want to say it because I can't believe just someone tried, like, my age, tried to convince me of this. I was like 25. So we were talking, for some reason this came up, like women who give birth underwater. And I know. Like you could do that, like bathtub births and crap, all that weird stuff. I don't know. I don't know why they do it. I don't know if you don't need an epidural with that. I don't know. But for some reason she decided to educate me a little bit in the subject. And she was like, oh, well, you know, mother, do you know why mothers like are able to do that? I'm just like, you're going to tell me no matter what. So go ahead. And she's like, because for like the first 6 weeks of a baby's life, we're actually born with fish gills. She tries to tell me. So apparently she's like, it has to do with evolution, she says, because we can breathe underwater when we're born. I'm like,
what? That's not true.
How do you even argue with that person? I'm just like, I don't think that's right. So I'm just like, but she was the kind of person who you just kind of went like, hey.
Wow.
I would like to point out she's also a young mother as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's how she gave birth, but you know,
did her children
I hope not.
Yeah, I'm with you. Did they have gills?
My cousin has webbed feet, but that's not the same.
Not the same thing.
Did you watch?
It's like that. It's like that meme. I want my kids to. I'm going to stay a virgin because I want to be a good example for my kids.
See, that's something she would say.
I don't.
But she was far from a virgin.
Oh Jesus, Emily!
I'm gonna
stop. Did you watch the movie The Shape of Water? Maybe that's what it was.
Maybe.
You know, I don't know. That's what she told me. Like, and she was just like, she tried to connect it to like evolution, and I'm like, okay. And I'm just like, I don't know how to talk to you. I'm sorry.
Do I know this person?
No, I don't think so. She's not like I actually met her in Catholic school.
Oh Jesus!
I did. So it was way back in the day, but she didn't tell me that. I kind of befriended her in Catholic school. Then we kind of parted ways because I went to an art school. She stayed in the Catholic school system, which I think failed her greatly, needless to say. Yeah. But I think, we were like 25 when she told me that. Louis, stop it. You're worrying me doing the thing.
I know. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think Jamie should talk now.
Okay. My answer, it's got to go back from when I was an adolescent. I was 5 or 6 years old, and my brother Jamie was alive when he told me that I could fly if I put a cape on and be like Superman. And I found out that I couldn't, especially when I jumped down the stairs. And then I continued to believe you when he told me that if I got on top of the kitchen table and hung onto the chandelier, I can swing on it like Adam West's Batman. That didn't work on either. So after that,
rip it out of the ceiling.
Yes, I grabbed it and didn't even do a quarter swing, and it crashed everywhere.
You could have just said you're being the Phantom of the Opera, and that would have succeeded.
The next thing, I was sitting in the living room just like this, and my mom said, "What happened?" I said, "I don't know."
Exactly, I don't know. It fell.
So that was the stupidest thing that I was ever talked into, and it was all because of my older brother that just so happens to be named Jamie. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to. Yeah. Okay, Miss, what was your answer to this question?
So mine is just hilarious to me because it's something that my pop-up told us when we were kids, like 5, 6 years old, that stuck with me until I was 23 years old in the hospital giving birth to my child. So he always used to yell at us for sitting on the concrete, and he would say, girls, don't sit on the concrete. You're going to get hemorrhoids. No child knows what hemorrhoids are. Okay. Like none of us. So my entire life, I was terrified of these hemorrhoids. Like, cause I didn't know, I just knew that if I sat on concrete, I was going to get hemorrhoids. So I'd go to school and tell all my school friends if they were sitting in the playground, don't sit on the concrete. You're going to get hemorrhoids. So I don't know how many people probably went home and said, hey, Mom, I can't sit on concrete. I'm going to get hemorrhoids. And they're wondering where this kid got this idea. Fast forward to me giving birth to my child in the hospital and them schooling you, telling you, be careful how you push because you don't want to get hemorrhoids. And I was like, wait a minute, what is this? You brought up this terrible word. What is that? And then they tell me what a hemorrhoid actually is. And I realized there is no way in the world you're going to get hemorrhoids from sitting on concrete. So, yeah.
So it took until you were 23 years old.
23. To find out hemorrhoids were.
Family values. We love that.
Oh, okay, Jamie. It is, since this is your question, we're going to change the rules. You hand out the points. Who gets points between 1 and 5 for their answer?
Why do I have to hand out the points?
Because it was your question.
Well, I mean, honestly, can't everybody get a 5? Because they were all
okay. Everybody gets a 5. It's your question. Everybody.
Hysterical.
Lenny said he was happy with a 1.
I was like, I got a 0.5. Great.
It was just so ridiculous. You have to have a 5.
I think mine like made me lose faith in humanity a little bit, but we'll give me a 5. I'm okay with that.
Oh, Lenny said he wanted a 1.
I want a 1. I think the 1 would be great.
I wanted a 1.
All right, we got 10 minutes. Okay, we have 10 minutes left, and Lenny, you are a director. You're a playwright. So we do have to talk Halloween and scary movies a little bit. So, Jamie and I both, well, Jamie tried to watch this one movie and had to stop. Emily said she did not even want to give it a shot. First movie on deck is The Munsters.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought we were talking about Terrifier. I was like, I like that.
No, not the Terrifier, not yet. Rob Zombie's The Munsters, streaming on Netflix. I got 3/4 into the movie, and I shut it off for other things. I'll finish watching it and then I'll give my opinion. I had a couple giggles here and there, but not really into it. Jamie,
I tried watching it and paid bills on my phone instead before turning it off and putting Hellraiser on.
Ouch! That was even. I'd rather pay my bills than continue watching The Munsters.
Yeah.
Wow,
I got so mad. I get so mad watching that movie. I want to go egg Rob Zombie's house with my great friend and my college professor. It sucks so bad.
Suck it, egg, Rob Zombie. Em, did you watch it at all, or you didn't even put it on?
No. See, here's the thing. Like in general, like just period. I'm not a fan of remakes. I'm just not. Like, just don't touch the classics, especially when it comes to horror. Like Rob Zombie's Halloween, forget about it. They literally make me sick. Cannot do it.
Okay.
But so in general, like in all fairness, I'm not a fan of the remakes and anything at all. But just for something like that, it just sparked absolutely no interest to me whatsoever. I'm just like, this does not. No. If you gave me homework and you made me watch it, I'd do it. But it's not something that sparked my interest whatsoever.
All right, we do have a question. Michael wants to know, Jamie, did you enjoy Hellraiser?
I did, and I'm a huge Hellraiser fan. I watched all of them every summer vacation. I don't know how many times for how many summers in a row with my best friend growing up. I did have some issues, but I was happy with it. I enjoyed it.
Well, you're the first person that I've heard that said they were happy with it. A lot of people said it's awful.
I've heard others.
Awful.
Yeah. I didn't like it.
It was not awful.
I want to see it. I want to see it.
As dark and gritty as it as what I like. And the Cenobites were not.
Yeah.
There was no gore about them. They almost looked like shiny plastic. Like they had a lot of work to do there, like a lot. And that was really disappointing. But overall, I didn't lose interest in it. The story itself I followed, and I mean, it wasn't fantastic and doesn't compare to the originals, but I didn't hate it.
Okay.
And maybe it was because I watched it right after the Monsters, which was so bad that anything would have, you probably could have had a dancing roll of toilet paper on the screen and I would have loved it.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good point.
I thought she was actually very good, but he didn't give her anything to do as Pinhead. And I was like, it felt like a CW version of Hellraiser. And I'm like, no.
It did. Yes, that's a great way to put it. It is.
Yeah.
It's like a watered down, softer, like it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't what
wasn't the hottest cup of tea either.
Yeah. Give me Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. That's what I'm talking about. You know, that's Hellraiser. Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. Sit through that, you sit through anything. I think that's a great film.
All right. Jamie, could you read Kimberly's comment, please? I can't see it.
What do you think of Svengoolie?
Anyone?
Amazing. Svengoolie's amazing.
What is that? Is that a horror movie? Kim, I'm kind of lost.
You don't know
It is a TV program.
No, I don't know what.
Actually, Google it because I had no idea.
I don't know.
It's amazing.
Thank God we have Lenny tonight.
I know. No, I don't. I don't know what that is. But Steven says that remakes of Dawn of the Dead and the Crazies were both awesome, and I would agree with that. He is a geek for horror movies. Oh, okay. I only watch horror movies when it's October, and Kimberly says that I watched him for years. And usually when I put on a horror movie, I kind of pick out the wrong ones. Jamie, my sister, please tell people why I pick out the wrong horror movies.
Oh boy.
Lewis always ends up watching boob fests.
Yes, they always pop up with boobs all the time. But this week's movie, they only had one set of boobs, so I was okay. I seen a lot of.
Why they call them boobies?
Shut up. I seen a lot of advertisement for this Terrifier 2, but I ended up finding Terrifier on it, and it was okay for. I guess it was made back in the early 2000s, and it wasn't.
2016.
Thank you, Lenny. And I thought it was great. The clown himself, not talking anything. I thought it was really cool, very bloody, very horrific, and I thought it was good. But last night I did watch another film called The Beast with Isra Elba, who played Deadshot, and I thought that was really good. It was a better version of the Megan Fox movie Rogue, and I thought that. Beast was really good.
The best one I've seen out.
Night too, right?
Hold on one second. What, Jamie?
You watched Werewolf by Night too, didn't you?
Yes, and I wanted to talk about Werewolf by Night really quick. I thought Werewolf by Night was amazing for 48 minutes. It was great. It was kind of reverse Wizard of Oz. I know a lot of people didn't see it yet. I'm going to give that 5 Angry Geek Shields.
Yeah, that
Jamie,
was
how many?
Of the weekend, that was my favorite thing I watched, and 5. I agree.
Oh, and another person from our Pod TV family, Javati, I think he says Attack of the Killer Clowns. Is that what he says, Jamie?
Yeah, it says Attack the Killer Clowns.
Is Attack of the Killer Clowns. I love it. I hate clowns, everybody.
I know she does. Anyway, we are... We are just about out of time. I want everyone to thank Lenny for coming on, and please support him in all his projects. And Lenny, where can people find you on the social medias?
You can find me on Facebook. I have 5,000 friends, but you can follow me. I have the limit. I'm going to start redoing my fan page of Daydream Theater and Lenny Schwartz page. I can be found on, I can be found on Instagram, Lenny Schwartz without the E, and on Twitter. And if you really want to see a great horror film that came out this weekend too, I've liked Werewolf by Night, but on Paramount Plus, the movie Significant Other. If you get a chance to see it, it was good. It was really good.
I saw somebody else post about that.
That was really good.
Yeah.
I need Paramount Plus. Dear God.
It's a great app. Add it to the 10 of them. 10 other apps. It's phenomenal.
Right.
You know?
Lenny, can I borrow your passcode?
No. Everybody asks.
Jamie, tell everyone where they can find you, your beautiful self, my sister from another mister, and your Wonder Woman cosplay.
Yeah, you can find me everywhere at thatwonderwoman.1. I keep it easy. Everywhere.
Tell everyone where they can find Quinderella.
All right, kind of same thing at Quinderella Cosplay, and the website is quinderellacosplay.com.
And you can find us at the Angrygeeks Show Network.com, where you can find us also on Pod TV. You can find us on your local public access television. If we're not there, call them up, email them, tell them you want your Angrygeeks on there. You can find me every Tuesday night with Ink Slinging Jack Purcell on the #1 wrestling podcast, Faces and Heels. And just look for me on the interwebs, and you'll find us. I'm Lewis, that's Jamie, and that's Emily. We are the Angrygeeks, and we love you guys. See you later.
Thank you, geeks.
You're welcome.